short, Islam is not trying to do what feminism is trying to do. Second wave feminism is saying that despite all of the differences that we have, anatomical and so on, that we should have equality between men and women. And Islam says that generally there's equality between the law, or should be at least, equality in front of the law, because the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا النِّسَاءُ شَقَائِقُ الرِّجَالِ, that certainly men are equal to women. But there are very clear exceptions to that. So we don't believe in an absolute equality, like the way in which someone like Ngozi, the one who wrote the Feminist Manifesto recently, she was saying that we believe, I was reading her book, a very small book, and she was saying we believe in absolute equality for the genders, except for breastfeeding. I think that was the one thing that she made as an exception. We say that there's some real anatomical and physiological and psychological and emotional and psychological differences between men and women, and those all need to be taken into consideration when in prescription. And so we don't share the same beliefs as second wave feminists, which say that there should be an equality, complete equality, exactly like the same man and woman. We don't believe that. We believe that there should be a complementarity. Okay, we don't believe in equality. We believe in complementarity.
Yeah.
And so
just to add to that, even if we take their standard line of how we came about, society was never egalitarian. In fact, evolutionary psychologists find themselves completely at odds with feminist and egalitarian values. So, for example, toxic masculinity is something that some evolutionary psychologists see a function for. Likewise, gender roles, there's a function for that. There's a reason why natural selection, according to them, has shaped patriarchal societies. So I think what we need to be clear about, and what Hijab was saying earlier, our paradigm is not like theirs. So when we say equality, when we say this or we say that, we don't mean the same thing.
That's right.
They mean something totally different. But what's important to note is that we have a basis, and the basis is the Quran and the Sunnah. Now, technically, Allah could have said the man gets half the inheritance that the woman gets. We would accept it because that's what Allah said, but Allah said the opposite. Or Allah could have said something totally different. The thing is, a feminist can read the Quran and say the Quran is unfair towards men because men have to go to war and men have to die and men have to do the difficult jobs and they have to provide. A feminist can read the Quran and say the Quran is against women because of this verse and that verse. Allah does no injustice to anyone. But what's very important, my brother, is our lens, our starting paradigm is that we submit to the commands of Allah, and our understanding of equality, our understanding of what is just is what Allah has decided. It's not a human construct. Because if you look at their narratives, which is, this is what we mean by equality. Oh, really? Is that what you mean by equality? How did this develop? You start to see that actually their terms are undefined, their arguments are unrefined as well, and they are completely at odds with each other in terms of origins of these particular values and their implications in society today. So if you have this argument, down with patriarchy, great, down with patriarchy, but didn't natural selection, according to you, design patriarchy to create societies which have social cohesion? And this is extremely important to understand, that whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, alhamdulillah, you're Muslim, but the Muslim narrative is coherent and it's a rival to the other narrative, but the other narrative is incoherent. In of itself, there is a fundamental problem with the idea that natural selection shaped our psychological mechanisms and our values and our ethics and all of these things, and the egalitarian ideas, because you cannot find those egalitarian ideas when you look at evolutionary history, unless you start to do some cherry picking and saying, well, bonobos are like this, but let's ignore the chimps, stuff like that.